As a photographer, you'll take tens of thousands of images over your career. Depending on what genre you go in, you may end up with hundreds of images per session or job. One of the most important things you'll have to consider is ultimately, out of all these pictures that you've taken, which images should you select to be delivered to your client or art director? And that's where editing comes in. Editing is the act of selecting the right images. Now, don't get it confused with retouching. No, because retouching is where you enhance or fix an image. Editing is just about selecting the best images, and it's one of the most important facets of the job. Most new photographers fail to consider the importance of editing. You just pick the first thing that catches your eye without considering the details or whether or not it serves the subject or the story, whether the subject was completely in focus, the colors worked, the composition was on point, so on and so forth. Now, the only difference between a professional and someone who shoots, say, casually, it really just comes down to discernment. So, that's why, with the first assignment, I took on the role of the photo editor. And then I went through your submissions and I found the images that I thought best spoke to your particular skill level as well as represented your interests. Now, if you haven't already, go through the threads and see which images I selected and ask yourself why I thought that these were more viable than some of the other images that you took. Then I would like you to write whether or not you agree with my selection, or were there other images that you think look better and better defines your perspective. Okay. Now, that was then. Starting with the second assignment, you'll edit your work from here on out. So, how should you approach the editing process? I suggest that you try breaking down into phases. Now, the first phase is really straightforward. Soft images, blurry images, crooked horizon lines and buildings, cropped out limbs or heads, a lot of duplicates, 4, 5, 6, 7 duplicates. May even have images that are just too dark or too light. Go ahead and delete them. Don't need them. Now, the second round, take out the less flattering images. The eyes closed, the wrinkles in the clothes, looks awkward, tags, clutter in the background. Now, at this point, you may have trashed about a third of your shoot, and that's okay. But as you go further into the editing process, the goal isn't now to delete images. You really want to purposefully highlight the best images. So, say you started with 200 pictures. You know what? You might delete the 50 images from the first two rounds, and that leaves you with about 150. Delete a couple more, you get down to about 135, and from there, keep everything, and then you start to figure out what are your best images. So from 135, you might pick out 20 out of that set, pick 5 or 3, and that's what you post social media and whatnot. Ultimately, when you start putting together a portfolio, you want to keep 1 or 2, and that's it. And if you're wondering why you keep all those images, well, as you mature and develop a stronger eye, you'll go back and find that maybe you didn't necessarily pick the best images. There's another one that would be stronger or work better if you tried a new crop. Or, times change, and they always do, and people are leaning more towards, say, more candid poses over the pose ones, and you definitely got those. So, you're out there taking advantage of the light. Remember, take more images than you intended because you never know. Also, one thing to keep in mind when you first sit down, look at your images. You may find a few photos that you like during the first or second pass, but don't be so quick to commit. Get up, do whatever you do, come back later. You find that as time changes, your perspective shifts, your taste shifts. It's a lot to consider, but it's important to see that this class, as well as school in general, it's just an opportunity for trial and error. Make your mistakes now so you'll be ready when the times come. Alright, so next up, we'll talk about camera controls and the mysterious exposure triangle. That says good luck shooting. Alright.